In the first episode of Martha's Restoration and Rebirth, we briefly recapped her life and her oyster dredging past. In this episode, we have one more piece of housekeeping to do before we move on to the stories and dramas of her rebuild. Before we start to describe the messy details of Martha's restoration, we really ought to know what a skipjack is. We should have at least heard of some of the oddly named parts, like the mast, the boom, the jib, the doghouse, the keel, carlins, strongbacks, travelers, the forepeak, davit, king plates, sheet, and 100 others. Skipjacks are sloop-rigged sailboats. So let's begin with things that are common to sloop-rigged boats. Well, okay, but what is a sloop? These are sloop-rigged sailboats. What do they have in common? Well, they have a single mast, that's the tall stick. They have a boom, which is also the sound it makes when it hits your head on a jibe. They have a mainsail. Cool sailors call it a mainsail. They have at least one headsail, cool again to say headsail. And larger sloops have bowsprits, which make them look like old ships. Sloops are simple to rig and easy to sail, if you know how to rig and sail, that is. That is one reason they became so popular with watermen. And by the way, historically, there were almost no water women. They knew better than to go out in the bay in all sorts of nasty weather. Well, sailing a boat is one thing. Rigging a boat is quite another. So let's take a look at the rigging of a skipjack. Skipjacks, actually all sailboats, have two types of rigging, standing rigging and running rigging. These form the web of wire and rope that hold things together. Again, by the way, rope is a material. Rope that is cut, spliced, or knotted for a specific purpose is called a line. More on that in the future. Now let's look at Martha's rigging. First, the standing rigging. Standing rigging is used to support the mast and boom and is usually made of twisted steel wire. The pieces that support the mast athwart, that is from side to side, are called shrouds. The shrouds are fastened to the hull with metal pieces called chain plates. The wire that runs from the top of the mast to the tip of the bowsprit is called a forestay. It helps to keep the mast from tilting aft. On most sloops, there is another wire, called a backstay, running from the top of the mast aft to keep the mast from tilting forward. On Martha, there is no backstay, but there is a wire running from the top of the mast aft to the end of the boom. We call this a topping lift. It supports the boom. Running rigging helps us run the boat. It connects the sails to the mast and boom and provides the mechanism for setting the sails at various angles to meet the wind. We won't get into the physics and aerodynamics of how sail systems work. Yes, you can sail into the wind up to a point of sail, that is. We'll save the sailing lesson for another time. So let's have a look at Martha's running rigging. First, the halyards. They are difficult to see on the picture here, but they are the lines we use to raise the sails. There is a very long one to raise the mainsail, and another one to raise the headsail, the jib. Martha has only one headsail. Here we see the crew raising the mainsail with the halyard. Next, we have the sheets, one of those odd ship terms. The sheets allow us to set the angle of the sails to the wind. They are the control lines that allow us to optimize speed and direction. There is one for the mainsail, you can see part of it here, and another for the jib. You can see the end of it coiled on the port shroud. Oh, and remember, the port side of a boat is the left side as you look forward. Starboard is the right side. The web of lines running alongside the main and jib are called lazy jacks. They help guide the sails when we bring them down. Without the lazy jacks, we'd have sail all over the place on deck. The little pieces of string along the sails are called reef points. When it gets too windy to run full sail, we can lower the sails a bit and secure them to the boom. This reduces the sail area and makes the boat more stable in windy conditions. Martha's mainsail has 3 reef points and her jib has 2 sets of reefs. The mainsail is attached to the mast on hoops which ride up and down to set the sail. The edge of the sail that attaches to the mast we call the luff. The bottom edge is called the foot, and the aft edge, that would be the hypotenuse of the sail's triangle on Martha, is called the leech. The lower forward corner is called the tack, and the aft corner is called the clew. Where did they ever come up with these names? Well, that's a whole other video. So back to the big picture and a few hull and deck components that give a skipjack its characteristic look. Let's take a quick video tour. We begin at the bow. First, you see the trail board with Martha's name on it, and the support structure for the bowsprit, which in this scene has been removed. As we move aft, you see a green painted line. This is referred to as the boot stripe. It indicates the approximate water line. Coming into view are 2 vertical metal straps. These are the chain plates. They provide the fastening points for the shrouds, which are not yet rigged in this scene. The white painted area between the boot stripe and the rub rail is the side planking. The planks on Martha are 2 inches thick. Above the rub rail are additional planks called the bulwarks. The horizontal metal cylinder is a roller used to bring the oyster dredges on board. To the left of the roller, just above the rub rail, is a little opening that allows water to drain off the deck. It's called a scupper. The metal tubing on the aft end are the davits which support the push boat when it is out of the water. The back end of the boat, where Martha's name appears, is called the transom. That black pad is the notch into which the bow of the push boat is mated. You can also see a section of the cylindrical wood just below the waterline. This is the rudder post. Now we move to the bottom. The angular boards are called the bottom planks. We see them here before they were restored. The bottom planks are attached to the keel or keelson, the lighter colored horizontal timber. On the bottom of the keel are 2 additional boards referred to as the worm shoes or wearing shoes. They provide a wearing surface for the keel. Finally, as we move aft, the rudder comes into view. Shifting to the front of the boat, the bow, we see that the bottom planks are shaped to form the curve of the bow all the way to the stem post. These individually shaped pieces are called staves, just like a wooden barrel. There are many more parts to a skipjack, but we'll stop here for now. You may want to rewind and view the parts again. We threw a lot at you. If you want to delve deeper into the design of a skipjack, there are a number of good books to check out. And, if you get a chance, have a look at the Maryland Public Television documentary titled The Skipjacks. There is a lot more to tell about the shape, size, and design of a skipjack, but we'll define those as we go along in future episodes. We have enough to get us started for now. Beginning in the next episode, we'll be talking to some of the folks who are actually doing the work on Martha. We'll see them and hear them tell stories of this long, grueling project. We'll delve into the history a bit more and show you just how the work is getting done. See you next time.